One Michael here. I briefly want to talk about the Raise the Colours campaign and just let the British people know some information that came to light yesterday. Some people may have already seen it from Danny Tomo's YouTube channel. Now, I haven't really followed these characters much. I've only followed them in the past few weeks. And essentially, Danny Tomo is working on Operation Overload, which is to stop the boats coming in from France. And this Ryan guy is the guy who co-founded Raise the Colours. And obviously we've all seen the flags going up around our towns and cities and neighbourhoods, and he's in charge of that. And these guys teamed up to work together. But yesterday, apparently they've had a falling out and they've been accusing each other of, or what people have been accusing others of stealing money from each other and all this sort of stuff. So I decided to look into the history of these characters. And first seeing them, I support them 100%. You've got one group raising the colours, which is, I believe, a good thing. And you had Danny Tomo, who was trying to stop the boats. So they had my full support. Even though I barely knew anything about them, I thought, well, good on you, lads. Good luck. I wish you well. And initially, I saw a video with the both of them. And then, if I'm honest, as soon as I saw this Ryan guy, I was like, who is this guy? He kept jumping into the conversation, jumping on camera. I thought he was just eager for as much attention as he can get. Whereas Danny Tomo at least seemed reasonably normal. But essentially yesterday, after all these arguments, the Raise the Colours guys accused Danny Tomo of stealing money from them. And Danny Tomo says, no, this is because the Ryan guy from Raise the Colours bought a year's supply or year's membership to StreamYards. It cost like $2,500. And that was his own silly mistake. So Danny Tomo was not willing to pay it. Something along those lines. He should have paid for a month and he paid for a year. And the money came out of Ryan's account. And he's moaning about this. But this is when I decided, well, let me look into these guys. What's going on here? What's all this beef? What are their character like? And as I looked into the Ryan guy from Raise the Colours, it appears, well, it's proof here that in a newspaper article that he was in charge of a giant scam of screwing people over 40 million or something like that. Now, I would say this is alleged, but this is from a newspaper article. So I can only go along with what the newspaper article says. But it appears that this guy is a bit of a wrong. And then I looked into Danny Tomo a bit, and it appears that years ago he served prison time for abduction after a drug deal went wrong. Something along those lines. I have to say alleged because I don't know exact details and if that's 100% correct, but this is what appears to be out there. And he admitted in his video that he's made plenty of mistakes himself in the past. And maybe he has changed, and everybody is capable of repentance. So I'm not saying that nobody can repent. I'm just saying we should be wary of Raise the Colours raised £250,000, but should that really be raised for the guy who's been accused of being a scammer? And my overarching conclusion of looking into these guys is not to trust any of them. And from their past, you can see that these are people who lack morals and character. And as I said, yes, everybody makes mistakes in lives. But some people make small mistakes, not mistakes of screwing people or doing scams of £40 million or abducting people in drug runs or whatever it is. So these are showing signs that these are seriously morally defective people. And I think people should be wary of getting involved with them. I mean, Danny Tomo is doing his Operation Overlord or whatever it is. And at first it sounds good, but I would not get involved in that, because when you follow these sort of peoples who are in it for their own ego rather than serving the nation, you're going to end up getting in trouble. You know, a lot of these people, he wants to get thousands of patriots or hundreds of patriots over to France. But what'll happen, you'll get naive people going over thinking that this guy knows what he's doing. And then you'll end up in a French prison for 10 years under terrorism charges. You know, that something like that could happen. And then only when you're in prison, you realise, hold on, this guy didn't know what he was doing. He's a massive grifter. So be careful who you follow. And I'm always warning people. You know, Steve Laws has got a lot of hype at the moment. But I'm telling people, trust me, this guy will lead you to destruction. He's a Nazi sympathiser going on about wild conspiracy theories all over X. This is not a guy you can trust. And remember last year, there was that biker dude who said he's starting an operation to protect all the women and girls. And then a few weeks later, he did some meeting with a bunch of Muslims. And then everyone was like, how the hell can you be meeting up with a bunch of Muslims? This guy's just a phony. And then it turned out, I'm not 100% sure, but it turns out there may have been dodginess with the funds as well. And that disappeared overnight. And he was accused of all sorts. So again, another thing of people grifting. and they're monetizing people's pain. They're just as scummy as the politicians. The politicians are in it for money and power. They don't care about the people. The same with these grifters. They don't care about the people. They're in it for money, power, and ego. They may seem like they care, but they don't. They're doing it out of it's a vanity project to them. So they can stand there and go, we're the heroes of the country and all this crap, but they're just clowns. And I want to end the video and clarify one thing, is that a lot of people on the right are always saying things like, don't criticize this, or we need to be united. But I don't agree, because I don't agree twofold. One, I don't agree in terms of we all need to be united. I'm not going to unite with National Socialists. I'm not going to unite with scammers and criminals. I'm not going to unite with egotistical people in it for their own selfishness. I'm not going to unite with auditors who go to places deliberately to cause drama for monetizational purposes and make any sensible movement look ridiculous. So I'm not going to unite with any of these people. Now, where I do agree is that we do need unity, but we don't need unity of all the people who are a bunch of morons, for the most part. We need to unite around a council of elders and wise leaders who are going to steward the people to safety. And this is what I have set up, or this is why I have set up Way of the Logos UK, because I want to start a council of elders or leadership group, and they will be the wise, sensible, mature leaders who have a love for the people and a love for God, and then the people can unite behind us, and you can bear us by our fruits. And as I said, I'm not sure whether I'll try and make this completely volunteer, or if I take donations, every single penny will be accounted for. So every month, the accounts will be released to the public so they can know what every penny is accounted for. If anybody works for the organisation, they can only earn a maximum of the average wage. So they're held accountable and they can understand what the average person will feel like dealing with money. Because a lot of people may start off well, but there are a lot of big YouTube channels now. They make millions a year out of people's pain. And then what happens is, they're making so much money, they think that they're making a difference when really they're just protecting their money now. And they're not interested in speaking the total truth or taking real risks because they're scared of losing their business. Whereas if you put limits on what people can earn, then they're going to stick forward to the mission. And we just need to unite around honourable people. That's why in politics, everyone's talking about unity. Well, I only want to unite around wise, sensible people. That's why I support Ben Habib. I think Ben Habib is a man who all the people on the right should unite around. I think that, UKIP, Rupert Lowe, all of the people who are on the right who want a sensible movement should get behind Ben Habib and trust this man, because I believe he's an honourable man. Yeah, he says all the right things. He's a wealthy man. He doesn't need to get in politics, but he says he wants to get in politics to help Britain and the British people. And he's very humble. He says, I didn't want to be leader of reform. I wanted Rupert Lowe to be the leader. And when Rupert Lowe says he's starting or forming a political party, or he may join one, Ben Habib even says, well, I'd consider joining advance with them, or disbanding advance and getting them to join Rupert's party. So he wants to do what's right, and he wants to serve the people. So the people need to unite around leadership such as Ben Habib and Rupert Lowe if he has the right attitude. And Ben Habib is a reluctant leader. A lot of the best leaders are reluctant leaders. They don't really want to do it, but they do it out of a sense of service. He's not getting into it like, oh, I could be the prime minister like Farage. Farage doesn't care about the people. He just wants to be prime minister for his own ego. Just as a lot of these grifters are. They don't care about the people. They think, oh, I could start a YouTube channel and get a load of money. I could get a lot of notoriety and attention, and I could say, oh, look, I'm going to save the country and try and be a Tommy Robinson type figure. But as I said, the best leaders are reluctant leaders. They don't really want to do it. I don't want to do this YouTube channel. A lot of the time I'm trying to get behind people, but they end up failing and being losers. So I've started this YouTube channel because I do believe that I have a far greater spiritual understanding and moral character than these people. And I'm saying to you, judge me and this movement by its fruits, and get behind a movement like this rather than all these other dodgy movements that aren't going to take us anywhere decent. And last thing I'll say is I will release a video of my vision for the Way of the Logos and how I think we can get a movement going to serve the people under the council of the Way of the Logos UK. Okay, so if you like what I'm talking about, subscribe to this channel and join this movement. Like the video, share it with as many people as you can to get them to join us. and it'll be a sensible, mature, wise movement, not a bunch of clowns, grifters, edgelords, clout seekers, and all that stuff. Okay, God bless everybody today. Goodbye.